Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Neka and I host Niger Canada Girl. If it's your first time of watching, thank you, and kindly hit the subscribe button so that you get notifications every time I have new videos. I hope you guys have been great. To be quite honest, winter hasn't been too bad here in Toronto at all, and I am so grateful for that. How have you been? How has the weather been? Are you in the process? How is your process going? Anyways, guys, so today I will be talking about, it's going to be me answering some questions you have already asked me, either through email, through my Instagram page. This is just a collation of the most popular questions you have asked me, okay? So it's going to be like a question and answer session where I read out some of the most popular questions I get, and then I will be providing answers. So hopefully if you're watching this video, some of these answers will already answer questions you might have. If you have further questions, do not hesitate to send me an email to nigercanadagirl@gmail.com and I will have a look and answer to the best of my ability. Guys, like I always say, it's a disclaimer I put out there. I am not an immigration consultant. I just share information based on my experience and experiences of my friends as well. Okay? Perfect. So now that we have that out of the way, like I said, guys, I'm going to be diving into 10 of the most popular questions you ask me. We'll see how we're doing for time. I may be able to take 2 more questions if we're doing great for time, okay? First, now this is a very popular question I get. I'm just going to be reading off a notepad where I scribbled them down from my devices too. Okay, so the first one is, I come from an English-speaking country. Do I need IELTS? Well, IELTS for the express entry process? Yes, this is a popular question I get all the time, and the simple answer is yes. If you're going through the Federal Skilled Worker Program, yes, you do need the IELTS. If you'll be doing the provincial nomination, you need the IELTS. It doesn't matter if you're from England itself, or if you're from the Queen's country, or if you're from English speaking country. It's just a requirement that needs to be fulfilled. Now, bear in mind that not all immigration programs to Canada require the IELTS program. You can go through the immigration website, the official Canadian immigration website, to see programs that do not require IELTS. But the most popular ones, like the express entry, yes, coming to study, that depends on the school's requirements, right? But if you are in the if you're in the immigration program through the Federal Skilled Worker and you're coming here to work, you're applying for the permanent residency as a skilled worker, yes, it is compulsory. Sorry, guys. Second question says, I will be relocating to Canada next month. Wow, congrats. How do I get cheap flights and accommodation? Well, I'm happy. It's great to hear you're already in the process and you'll be landing soon. Congratulations. Well, in terms of getting cheap flights, what I did and what many of my friends did, they just used one of these websites that already curates the most affordable flights for your destination. So I use one called cheapflights.com, and this is not an ad. I actually use cheapflights.com because someone else had recommended them. So on cheapflights.com, whether locally or internationally, you're able to see the lowest price. You can search base by price if that's what you're looking for, and you'd see the lowest flights for your destination. Now, that's just one part of your questions. The second part is, when you land, how do you find accommodation? Like I always recommend, everything you're looking for, accommodation, items to buy, there is a website called kijiji.ca. It's popular here in Canada. You can look for listings of houses for rent, different sorts of houses. It's going to leave the details of their requirements, and then you could also search based on your budget, the sort of house you're looking for, a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and then you can go for there. Now, seeing as you're just landing, it might take you a bit of a while to get a place on Kijiji. In the meantime, you can use an Airbnb. Airbnb is another platform that allows you make reservations. These homes are owned by people, but they're just less expensive than hotels. So you can make reservations of places of somewhere you might want to stay in for a period of time until you get settled into your own home. I'll be leaving the websites to Kijiji and Airbnb in my description box. Okay. Now, third question. This one says, I have 460 points and I'm in the express entry pool. What do you think I should do to increase my points, seeing as I am so close to the cutoff? I can totally feel your pain. I mean, I think the last cutoff was about 472. So I can imagine being so close yet so far. 460 is not too far from 470. In my opinion, the points never go down that much. I don't know if there'll be a drastic reduction in the points from 472 to 460, but you never know. Fingers crossed. However, you need to be prepared in case this doesn't happen. So what's my advice? For you to be in the high 400s, it means you are most likely qualified for a lot of provincial nomination programs. I'd advise that you do some digging, do some research as to what provinces might be offering the provincial nomination so that you get additional points, okay? That's one way you can boost your points. If you already exhausted your other options, like making your spouse write the IELTS as well, evaluating your master's degree, and you've exhausted all those other options, yes, some people say job offer. But the thing about the process is that a lot of employers here would rather employ people who are already permanent residents or already in Canada, okay? So that might be a long route. I won't say impossible, but it's not something to dwell too much on. It might not happen, okay? So I think provincial nomination might be your best route. And also, pray. You never know, okay? Okay, and now the fourth question I have here, this person says, I would like to relocate to Canada. Can you recommend credible immigration consultants or agents? Now, this is definitely my top most asked questions, and I'm happy you guys are asking for recommendations so that you do not fall into the hands of scammers or fraudsters, okay? So I'll be answering this in my description box. Like I say, I'm able to offer advice based on my experience and based on my process, but I am not a certified immigration consultant. I, however, have some colleagues and some great friends, some people who have come very highly recommended, and they do have testimonials to show for this. These are immigration consultants who have been doing this for a while. I'll be putting the links or ways to contact them for some of them in my description box. I do not know what they charge. I get that question a lot. I didn't have to use one, but they are very available through email, on social media, so you can reach out to them, let them know what you want, and they can let you know their different categories, you know, that of and prices, and you might be able to select the one that suits you most. Okay, so I'll be putting a recommendation in my description box as well. Now, the next question says, I am about to get my FRSA letter and I need to know who to address the letter to. Okay, so the FRSA letter, I'm thinking you're referring to your driving history in Nigeria, because when you come here, to be able to be eligible to write the G1 test, which is like the expert driving test, you need to prove that you've had previous driving experience. And this is where the FRSA letter comes in. Don't worry if you do not have an FRSA letter, it only means you start from G2. G2 drivers drive as well, but G1 is the expert level. So yes, when I got my FRSA letter, I think I just used to whom it may concern. I don't know, you didn't state what province you are, what province you're writing this from, but quite honestly, a lot of the time these letters are addressed to whom it may concern, just to avoid making mistakes so that you do not address it to the wrong organization and then it might not be acceptable by another organization. I would like to say the government of Canada, but no, because the driving part of the party, the parts that will be interested, the part of the government that will be interested in this is the part that handles driving tests. If you live in Ontario, I might say Service Ontario. However, to be safe, I would just say to whom it may concern. Okay. How can I apply for a job while in the process of undergoing the express entry to increase my points? I've touched on this slightly in a previous question that was asked. It is not impossible to get a job. It's, however, very difficult. Now, for an employer to apply to employ someone who is not yet a permanent resident or a citizen and is outside of Canada, the employer needs to prove that they have searched and they found no one else with the skills they need for that job, hence their need to bring someone from outside. Now, you know how difficult that must be. They are actually required to fill something called a labor market impact assessment. Now, what this documentation they need to provide the government, like I said, or like I explained earlier, means is that they have searched and searched the entire Canada and they can't find anyone with the skill sets they need, hence their need to employ someone outside. Now, you see how difficult that must be. I don't think employers want to have to go through the process of helping with your paper, filling the labor market impact assessment if it's not absolutely necessary. This is why it might be quite difficult to get a job before moving to Canada. So I would always advise that you look for other means of increasing your points and not necessarily dwell too much on getting a job offer. Like I said, I've created other videos on how you can improve your CRS points, and I'll be leaving links in my description box as well to help you. Okay. Now I have another question here. This one says, please, I need recommendations for IELTS studying. This is a very valid question. I know it could get really difficult just walking into IELTS, not knowing exactly what to expect. You write it the first time and you're like, oh, wait, I actually need to study for this. Okay. Now I have a video where I have put, I've documented in video. It's a YouTube link. I've documented my process and how I studied for my IELTS, okay? I'll be sharing that in my description box as well. But to answer your question before taking you there, I basically used different websites. I did not use that one website. First of all, I did not use physical materials. It was all studies online. So these are websites I have found online. I think I had a different website I felt was more suitable for reading for me. I found another one I felt was more suitable for listening. And I found a lot of help from YouTube for speaking. That way you actually hear people, undergo the speaking practice, and you're able to have an idea of the sort of things you need to say. For writing, I also had a website that had different writing essays. And a lot of times these questions are recycled, right? So reading through all these essays would give you a great idea of the sort of level of writing they need you to have. The language, your tone and everything, how to paragraph and all that, okay? So like I said, I'll be referring you back to my how to pass the IELTS video because there isn't one website I used. I used 4 different websites, okay? Good. And next, I have a question here that says, how can I cargo food items and excess luggage that might not fit into my allowed luggage allowance? Oh, okay. So this person obviously already has their PPR and would be landing soon. And of course, it's not easy to uproot yourself entirely from one country to another. You also have things to move, right? So this question of excess luggage, I've answered a lot as well in my different social media channels. However, yes, you can do this if you live in Nigeria. If you're Nigerian, you can cargo from NACO. NACO is the official body that does this. I also have some contacts I'll be sharing as well, or you can slide into my DM and I could share a phone number. I do not think I want to put anybody's phone number out there publicly without their consent, okay? But if you do need a contact, send me an email and I would respond with the contact, okay? So there are people you can pay and they cargo. It's all legal. It's all by the government. It's very legit. And then they cargo your items. Yes, it's actually much more affordable than having to pay for excess luggage, especially if you have a whole lot. I cargoed most of my food items and other items that couldn't go along with my luggage as well. Okay, perfect. So I have another one here that says, can I bring my proof of funds as cash to Canada? Oh, well, by all means, if that's the most convenient way you feel you'd be able to bring your proof of funds, that is absolutely fine, right? You, however, need to not declare in Nigeria, please. But when you get to Canada, you need to declare the amount the amount you have on you, and you need to keep it safe. So if you are used to traveling with cash and you have a secure way to make sure your proof of funds is not tampered with, that's fine, okay? I don't travel with that much cash. my proof of funds was my treasury bills. So my proof of funds basically was an updated treasury bill certificate just before I traveled. I obtained that 2 days before my trip. Okay, so I didn't want to move with so much cash. For some people, they have the cash in their banks and then they have a bank statement. And yes, a lot of people travel with cash as well. So by all means, you can just be careful and declare it when the time comes upon arrival at the Canadian airport. Okay. Next question here says, I have an MSc and BSc. Do I need to evaluate both by Wes? Okay. So usually the recommendation is that you evaluate your highest qualification. This would save you time. This would save you money as well. I didn't know this when I did mine. So yeah, I went ahead and evaluated my BSc and my MSc. Interestingly, my BSc gave me a lot of stress to evaluate, to just get the school to have it done. My MSc was a breeze. Little did I know that I could have easily evaluated just my MSc. So yes, you can evaluate your highest qualification. You do not need to evaluate others if you have an MSc. Highest qualification, basically. Okay. I hope that answers that. And okay, I think we aren't doing too bad for time. I'll just take 2 bonus questions. The first one is, I'm a lawyer in Canada looking to navigate my way back to my field in Canada. Any advice? So I'm guessing you were a lawyer in Nigeria and you just got to Canada as a permanent resident. I am not a lawyer, unfortunately, but thankfully I have someone who's really amazing, really helpful. She has an Instagram page you can check out at Niger Canada Lawyer. Her name is Moyo. She has a lot of resources. She has a lot of tips. She also documents her process and she's also really helpful. So you can feel free to slide into her DM and she'll be happy to help you. It's at Niger Canada Lawyer. Okay, perfect. So Moyo's got you. Okay. Then the last question, this says, I just moved to Toronto. How can I register for French classes? Yes. So one of the advantages of coming here as a permanent resident is that you get the opportunity to learn a second language. So you can either learn English or French and it's free, at least at the basic level. I went to somewhere called Newcomer Center. I just Googled Newcomer Center, and the closest one to me happened to be in Mississauga. I know it's not only the Newcomer Center that offers this. However, that's a good place to start. Who knows, they may be able to recommend you to a closer place to you. So if you're in the GTA, I use somewhere called Newcomer Center. I think it's somewhere on Bonanthorpe Road in Mississauga, but for an exact address, just Google Newcomer Center, Mississauga. And when you get there, let them know you're looking to learn French, you're a permanent resident, and they'll let you know what documentation they need and the next steps. Guys, it was really nice answering your questions. I'm sorry I did not get to answer them as soon as they come because I get a lot of questions, trust me. But this I've discovered is a really great way to tackle all your questions while helping other people that might have the same questions as well. So I hope this was helpful. I found it fun. And while you're still in the process, guys, keep on researching. Keep on being patient, and I'm sure yours would come through soon, okay? If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email or send me a DM on my Instagram account. Till my next video, guys, have an amazing time. Bye.